Okay, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 60. That's 60 of the Strategy Conversions podcast. As always, I'm Jamie Michael Joseph and I'm joined by Mike Tanner. I was just thinking that Mike, 60 episodes. Wow.
I know. It's nearly my years on the planet.
It's really interesting, like that whole kind of 60, and obviously, we're still looking at it keeping going, and we do mention it every time. We're like we've hit so many different episodes, but it is something where you think, look, there are so many people out there who start a podcast and they get to episode 6 and then they never kind of get on, from that. Yeah. And what's really interesting, actually, thinking about it, I'm not sure if we mentioned this anywhere, but I can remember leading up towards Christmas, I had a message come through, and it was all about the podcast. So it was an email that came through, and it gave some stats, and it basically wrapped up saying we had put out something like 260 minutes or something like that of content last year. And if you think about it, like 6 months we didn't do anything. Obviously, the 6 months we didn't do anything, right? But basically, it said that we contributed into the top 25 of contributors.
Wow.
With 260 minutes. So if you kind of break that down and you think, look, that's like, how many is that? Like 5 hours, less than 5 hours worth of content?
Yeah.
So less than 5 hours worth of content. And in the world, we're in the top 25% of contributors for that time, right? That's not much. If you think about it.
Right.
Like, and the reason I talk about that there is like, look, anyone listening, look, you have the opportunity to do whatever you want, right? For 5 hours this year, if you put in the work for 5 hours, you'll be in the top 25% of contributors in the world.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Because it just shows you there's so many people who have good intentions, and just never realize them because they just don't put in that little bit of, and it's not hard. It's not like putting in the extra mile. A lot of people say, going to the gym, you got to really strain and get there. We haven't been straining. It's just putting in a little bit more, just an extra sort of 10-15% that others wouldn't do necessarily. And also we've reached those kind of milestones and we're getting those messages. It's just a consistency, which is what we're going to be talking about, I think.
Yeah, so consistency. I mean, obviously, look, we had a little chat before, and we were just looking at the whole kind of achieving goals and stuff like that. We're now coming towards the end of January whilst we're recording this. We did an episode beginning of December talking about setting goals for the new year properly, doing it the proper way. We talked about consistency is the real secret. And then obviously, everyone starts off the year, it's all hyped up, motivation is there, the whole kind of New Year's resolutions. And then we've just hit kind of Blue Monday, what that they call it. It's meant to be the most depressing day of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
And we start to see just those kind of resolutions, those goals start to drift. So I think talking with you and looking at consistency, and I think even for myself, like, you're looking at different kind of plans and you're thinking, okay, this part isn't on track, or, this part hasn't, kind of gone the way we wanted over here. So what do we do to bring it back on track? And, like you said, it's all about consistency. And then you're talking about the whole blog that you were writing. So tell us about that.
So it's interesting because I was writing a blog. This again, it was on consistency. Somebody was asking me to do some stuff around it. And my sort of career as business coach, I've had so many people say, "What's the secret to really get to the goal achievement?" And it's always been the same thing. And I've come back and said, well, you've got to be consistent about the effort you put in. And some people do it, a lot of people don't. And then the people that don't, after about 3 months, think, oh, this isn't working. So they go and ask another coach. And the coach will give them exactly the same answer. And they get a bit peed off then because they think there's going to be a magic bullet. But there isn't a magic bullet. There's no such thing as an overnight success, as we've mentioned so many times before. They've all been the people who consistently put in the effort. And I was writing a blog, and I remember, and this is just a small afternoon event for me, but it really taught me a lot of lessons. I was 3 years ago now, January the 4th or 5th, I think it was. I went up with a group of friends. I went up climbing up Pen y Fan, which is the largest mountain in Wales. It's not, for those who live around the world, it's only a molehill compared to some of the mountains you get around the world. It's 800 odd meters on it. It's not that huge. but it's a big thing for me. I want to eventually just try and climb all three peaks in the all four peaks in the UK. But so anyway, the group of people said who were far fitter than me said, "Yeah, we're going to go up Penny Fan to try and work off the Christmas meals and everything." I said, "Yeah, yeah, okay, so I'm up for that." I hadn't done any training at all. I was quite overweight, unfit. I hadn't really walked anywhere, and I just thought the ego said, "Yeah, I can climb up Penny Fan." So I started out. So that we got there in the afternoon. About I think it was about 6 or 7 of us, and we started out in the afternoon. And you start off on quite a fairly sort of straight bit, and then you go up a path. The path is quite steep, and it's like it takes you 2 steps along a straight piece, and then there's a quite a large step up, so you climb up the mountain all the time. And I managed 10 of those, and I thought, oh my, I really thought my lungs were going to burst. So I sat down on this stone, and I thought, hang on a minute, and it was interesting because one of the things I say about goal achievement is that you don't once you set your goal, believe you're going to get there, but don't focus on the goal, focus on the consistency of getting towards the goal. So the goal's going to get, believe it's going to get there. And I was just thinking, I'm never going to get up there. And I was focusing on what you couldn't even see the top because it was all shrouded in mist. And I was focusing on, oh, I've got to get up there. And I thought, no, hang on, let's take my lessons, the lessons I teach myself. I thought, right, okay, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on just going up, say 3 levels, and then stopping and resting, 3 levels, stopping and resting. And I thought, I'll just do that. So I got up, I was all fired up again. So I went up the first 3 levels, and my legs were like jelly. So I stopped again and sat down, and I was almost in tears. Like, I'm not even going to make like a quarter or a fifth of climbing up this slope, which is going to be ridiculous. All my mates and all the friends I had shot off, and even there's one dog there, and a really old Dachshund, and it flown up the hill, and that's terrible. So I sat in this area and going past me, and I thought I really was in that stage where I thought, I'm gonna have to give this up. It's pathetic. I've only just come a little. I don't know if I can climb sort of 50 meters really. And then one of the guys came down with me, and he had gone gone on a long way ahead, came back down and sat down and just chatted about it. He knew it was important for me to get there, and I was obviously I was the oldest in the group by quite a way, but he said, no, just take your time, come on, we can do it. And he just helped me up. He said, so we're just going to do we'll do 1 step and then we'll stop. We won't sit down, stop, see how it goes. So that's what we did. We just went up 1 level, and I stopped for about 20 seconds. Went up the next level, stopped, and went up the next level, stopped. And I said to him, I think I've cracked it, because I was just about. It was really slow, and I knew that he was far quicker than I was. I said, but I think I've cracked it now. So you go on ahead, and that's what I did for the rest of it. I said, you go on ahead, I'll be fine. And it was painfully slow. Really was painfully slow, and eventually, and I just did that all the time. And I started talking to myself and just counted the steps. I go right up to 10, take 10 steps, stop, and it's just like 1, and it was just simple, monotonous counting and focusing on my boots. Just 1 step, and I didn't even worry about the weather that was coming in, because we had some real horrendous weather that came in. Anyway. Cut a long story short, I got to the top, and they were all waiting. They must have been waiting there hours, and it was freezing cold. And they were all clapping me. They came on and patted me on the back and everything. And it was brilliant. It was a great experience. And I made it. The blog was around that. And then I realized, I sort of thought, well, what lessons did I learn about consistency that day? Because it was only through consistency that I got there. Otherwise, you're so easy to give up.
That's really good, actually. So just to jump in on that part there, I think that whole kind of thing with consistency is like, it's very important to kind of go, okay, what does consistency mean?
Yeah.
Because I think we've been guilty of this, obviously, with the podcast. When we did the episode saying consistency is key, we obviously gave a lot of kind of padding around that, and talked about setting goals are one thing, but actually having a plan and kind of doing all this stuff. But actually, like, the keeping going part of consistency it is probably something that not a lot of people actually talk about, which I know you're about to come
Yeah,
on to now, but I think just to give some context then to our listeners, like it is that part, isn't it? It's all work with everything, it's all very good. Yeah, okay, just get motivated. Yeah, okay, just put in the work. Yeah, okay, consistency. But it's like, okay, look, when that is actually broken down, look, what
yeah,
does it really mean?
yeah. And I think that, and that afternoon, it really, I think that afternoon, as I say, we sat in the pub after, and I was thinking, what was it? And like you said, I mean, people talk about it and say, well, what actually is it? So I came up with this. I started writing this blog about it, and I came up with this like mnemonic called Steps, which was quite irrelevant because it was the steps I was taking at Penny Van. And the lessons were the first thing is the significance of what you're doing. So I really wanted to climb Penny Fan because I want to climb all four peaks in the UK, in the United, in England, UK, sorry. And Penny Fan was just, it was somewhere they were going. So I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go out there without any kind of preparation. But once I got there, it was important. I thought, I'm going to do this. So it was really a big why. The big why. What's the reason for doing this? And it's for my own self. It doesn't. The reasons, you see, when we talk about the whys of why we achieve things, want to achieve things, they don't have to be grand. They don't have to be massive. This was for my own self-esteem. There was no other reason. Nobody cared if I got up there or not. My wife didn't care. The dog didn't care. But it was for me. I just,
Thing as well, isn't it? That whole kind of why. I think
yeah.
that's something that's big. Like that whole you need to find your why and stuff like
You've
that.
got to know, yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to know because if you don't know why you're doing it, you'll give up because you'll just think halfway through when it gets a bit tedious or a bit because a lot of goal consistency is mundane. It's like
Mm.
again, Jeff Olson say, master the mundane. It comes after say, 3 weeks of doing some mundane stuff, for example. You're gonna think, what the hell am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you stop. That's
I'm just thinking as well that whole kind of thing of finding your why. I think that's something that gets chucked around a lot as well. That it doesn't
yeah,
actually go into how, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think you
So
hit the nail on the head there. Is that look, it doesn't have to be some big grand thing.
no, it
People say,
doesn't.
"What
It
what
doesn't.
is your why? What is your purpose?" And it's like, okay, changing the world and curing this and doing that. It could just easily be something really simple for you. That is just
Yeah, yeah.
that small little step goal.
And it's that's right. It was just building up my. I wanted. I mean, I wanted to get fitter. I did. And I thought this was going to be. This was going to be the do it or die sort of thing, and it almost was. But I did want to get. I did want to get fitter that year, which I did. And this was kind of the shock treatment, if you like, which maybe I shouldn't have done because I should have prepared for it first. But the significance of, I was I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. I wanted to just change my health. I knew I was overweight. I wanted to lose some weight. There's all sorts of things, but this was for my self-esteem. I really want to climb those four peaks just for my own benefit to say I've done it. So there was no one else involved in that reason why, but it was a strong one. And then then the T out of steps is time. And because I just thought I was going to fly up, I just thought, yeah, I'll just walk along the straight and I'll be walking with the rest of them. Okay. So never try and compare yourself with other people. Everyone has their own pace to get somewhere. But no one will do it instantly. So you've got to be prepared that it's going to take time. For me, it took hours and hours. I think most of them did it in about 2 hours. I think I was probably around 4.5 or something ridiculous by the time by the time I got there. Um, but except that the time you probably think you're going to take when you start out won't be the time. It's like anything, isn't it? One of the things I love doing is I love playing. Really, I'm not a woodworker. My dad was a great woodworker, and sometimes I'll go out and I think I'm gonna. There's something I might want to make, and I got to the stage now where I think, well, how long is that going to take me? 2 hours. It'll take me four. And you got because I know that anybody else would do it in 2 hours. For some reason, I just think no, it's going to take me four. And if I do it in 2 hours, brilliant. But expect it to take much longer than you think. And so be prepared to let the time go. You put the time in. And then the E for it was kind of it was the endurance. Endurance being that it's partly kind of almost tied. It is tied into consistency, I guess. But it's like there's going to be times. Well, you don't know necessarily when you start off. Expect that there's going to be times when you're going to feel absolutely dead and you're not going to be able to do it. I mean, I did on the second stone. I sat down and I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to manage this. But it's things like when people have started a fitness regime. Okay, they go at it. They might go at it quite well, not go at it hammer and tongs. But if they decide to go down the gym, for example, and they start doing it, and their muscles start to ache, and then they come to the second week and the third week, and everything is aching, and they're thinking it isn't getting any better. And that's a time when that endurance of digging deep, we think, oh, I really can't be bothered. I don't want to go tonight because I feel, I've got that kind of pain going through. But the endurance is like with marathon runners and all these people, they always say you've got to go through that pain. And that's that endurance of going through the pain. You know it's going to be there. You're going to hit a wall. You think, right, okay, I've got to get through it. And my oldest brother is a marathon runner, and when he started out, he's always saying, you get to a wall, and that's when a lot of people slow right down. And you just got to keep going at the pace he's going, the steady pace, and just keep making it go. Again, it's all part of consistency. And all of a sudden, you'll break through that pain and that wall, and it becomes slightly easier than it did before. And then the P in steps was patience. So when I sat down on that stone the second time, I was really angry with myself because I realized that I hadn't prepared, I hadn't done anything. I was getting really getting annoyed with myself, and I wasn't serving any purpose. That was just using up energy, which I didn't need to use up because I needed all that energy to get to the top. So all that mental energy, and I was getting really angry. Just forget it. Okay, the patience, you've got to have patience with yourself and with the things around you. Things might how the environment around you might not work as the way you want it to be able to get where you are, but also internally, you might find that you're struggling to manage your 50 press-ups a day. So maybe 40 press-ups a day, you're still doing press-ups, you're still getting there. It's maybe not the target that you wanted, but you're still making it happen. So even if you slow it down, like I did with the paces, I had to slow it right down. But you're still doing it. So that whole that patience is that knowing that, okay, it's going to take it's going to take far longer. So I've got to be patient with myself. There's no point getting angry. There's no point getting really annoyed at everything around me. Just do it. And so I kind of shut everything else off. And it was quite interesting, actually, because on my journal on the day, I remember writing that I just shut out everything else. I wasn't even aware of people around me. I was just counting my steps. I was getting to 10 and stopping for 20 seconds, 10 steps, stop. And I was just counting them and nothing else. I didn't even realize you couldn't see the scenery around me because the weather came in so badly that it was really cold and wet and horrible. But the thing that really got me when I really thought about it was my mate who came back down to talk to me. So he'd gone down the other. He was sort of halfway up by the time that he realized that I was nowhere to be seen. So he came back down all the way down and sat down on that stone with me. And he was the one who said to me, look, he knew it was important to me because I said it was really important. He says, okay, come on, we'll make it. And he said, I'll walk at your pace. And I thought that's going to kill him. So he did, but he just got me, but he held sort of got me, grabbed me pulled me up by the shoulder kind of thing. We walked it. And we walked it up to 10 and I stopped. And that's what we decided to do until I got to the stage where I was happy with it. And I said, that's fine, you carry on, because I knew he was going to bound up to the top. So he did. So the S in steps, the last S is strength. And it's not about internal strength, because my internal strength was gone. And I realized that, okay, because sometimes you do get to a stage where you just can't carry on. So that strength came from a team, having someone around, having someone there who I could say, like a accountability buddy, but it's more than just an accountability. It's someone who really encourages you, and just someone who knows how important it is to you. This is why masterminds work so well, because you're all working towards a common goal. And when you get to stage in some kind of mastermind type arrangement, when you think, I can't see any way forward, I really can't see how I'm going to get there. somebody will come up with an idea that all of a sudden you can latch onto, and another idea springs out from that. But if you didn't have that team around you, you'd stop because you think, I don't know what to do now. I really don't know what's the next step is, which is where I was, really physically as well as metaphorically. I just didn't know where the next step was coming from until he got me and we started into a routine and broke through that wall. And then he went up to the top. And the most amazing thing was that it took me all that time, and they must have been really freezing, but they all waited for me at the top. And so when I got there, they encouraged me on and walking the last kind of 10, 20 meters with me, and then pat me on the back and taking photos and everything. And I took so much strength from having that team. And I think that I know that if I didn't have that team, or if I'd gone there on my own, I would never have climbed it. And I think that's so important, is that sometimes our ego lets us think that we can do all this stuff on our own, when actually we need people around us to help us along.
Oh, it's crazy. Like, just listen to you, like with that story there, is that there's so many things where I'm listening to it and I know you. So I'm like, yeah, they've know that's awesome. Like for you, right? And then there's stories I'm thinking of myself, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see that being like a similar way. And then I'm just like, you can take a lesson or lessons out of anything in life, can't you? And I mean, that there is perfect. Like, there's so many there. Like we can break that down into like what we're talking about today, like the whole kind of, goals and consistency of
course.
But in business, in marketing, in sales,
everything.
There's so many there. Run through the steps again. Just
so it's significance, and that's your reason why. Time, know that it's going to take time, more than you think, always more than you think. The endurance of really digging deep when you feel, you might feel bad, or everything, like the pandemic, for example, all that kind of stuff coming out. The patience to know that is the patience to keep calm. Just be calm. You've set your goal. You really believe you're going to get there. So just keep calm. It may take longer. Keep calm. Things may happen. Life throws all sorts of things at you. Keep calm. You might have a heart attack like I did. Keep calm. You think, okay, things happen. You think, I'm just going to have to work through this and keep calm. But it's no point getting really angry, because I have a brother he's older than me. He's 5 years older than me. And he's been angry at, I don't know what, but all his life. And when I say angry, he swears at himself. He cusses. He swears at everything he uses. A mobile phone. He phoned me up one day on the mobile phone, and we ended the call and he couldn't turn it off. And he's, oh, this fucking brother, you could hear it at the other end of the phone. I thought, bloody hell, he's going to burst a blood vessel. You just use so much energy by getting angry. And I've learned this. I used to be quite angry when I was much younger. But you spend so much energy, pointless energy. It doesn't go anywhere. But just keep calm, because you need to focus that energy if you're going to get through this. And then the final thing is strength. Is just strength of not your own strength necessarily, but strength of the people around you. So always have somebody. If you're setting a goal to do something on your own, always have somebody who can hold you accountable, or somebody who will encourage you. It only has to be one person, but you just need somebody. And it could be the wife, girlfriend. It could be someone who doesn't know you that well. Just somebody who you trust to say, look, I'm going to need help to get here. Can you help me? And that's where I think a lot of people with a lot of egos, especially in businesses, I think sometimes we have a success and our egos get really inflated and we think we can do anything. Yeah, we can, but I suspect that when you've had a success, if you actually think about it, someone was there to help you with something at some point. Not maybe all the way, but somewhere along the line, somebody helped you get somewhere. I challenge most people to say they did it completely on their own. Normally, there's other people involved. And that's what you've got to realize. And you've got to say, I need to take strength from these people, because they'll do the same for you when they have issues. So it's a give and take thing.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, that whole thing there, like you going through those steps. I mean, okay, look, significance, yeah, okay. I think people kind of go, we'll set a goal, and you can get into kind of goal setting and stuff like that and get really, significant. And even the kind of time frame and stuff like that, I think sometimes people will look at the goal being kind of further away. So it might be, okay, by the end of the year, I want to get this, and by this, I want to get that.
Yeah.
But actually spending the time to work out the time is really tough, because like you saying, we know in business is that everything is going to take, 3 times as long and cost twice as much.
Yeah.
It is that kind of thing. And then we obviously have the whole kind of thing of strength. I mean, strength is something where I go, yeah, okay, I think a lot of people know about accountability, right?
Yeah.
And there are people in business that kind of value, okay, if we're at a sticking point, we can get help from someone who's been there before, done it, and they can help us overcome that. But like you said as well, just that whole kind of ego side, or having someone to talk to, having that whole kind of thing where it is just that kind of support network, that it could be someone completely irrelevant to what you're planning to do. It's just someone there who can go, how's it going? And you can answer it. But for me, that whole kind of endurance and patience, I think that is something that just doesn't get spoken about a lot.
No, you gotta, and I think, I remember when I first did I was it, about 12 years ago now, I qualified as a coach, and I remember there was a guy on there, and it was all, we did a lot of theory, and we did. It took me 4 years, so it was theory and practice, and we were all the way through. We were coaching people for 4 years, so we didn't it wasn't just theory. And there's this guy there, and he talked about the goal achievement, and he made it sound so simple. And I came away thinking, oh, that's really. He said, you just got to do this, and you get to your goal. And wow! And like you said, the whole thing about he mentioned significance, know your why in time, but endurance and patience with yourself was never mentioned. And endurance, when you get to the stage where I remember reading Schwarzenegger's biography, when he'd just go just one more, and he'd be like, he'd feel that his veins were breaking out of his biceps. One more, and that one made such a significant difference. And there's so many people who say when you exercise, if you're doing regular, for example, press ups, or just press ups, and you do 15, and you do 15 quite easily, it's the last 5 to get to 20 that really make the difference. And it's adding one on the next day and adding one on it's those things, because the first 15 you get through, because you're so used to doing them, the body doesn't just does them. It's got used to it. It's got used to that kind of exercise. You're working that muscle. But when you get to that 20, it says, hang on a minute, this wasn't part of the deal. And then you just push it a bit more.
I remember that there's a thing from Muhammad Ali as well. And people say, like, how many sit-ups do you do each day? And he said, I don't know. They said, well, why don't you know? He said, well, I only start counting when it starts to hurt. And it's like, there is that, Muhammad Ali, I mean, he spoke a lot. I don't know if that's true, and stuff like that. But that whole kind of thing, like you said, look, one more, just like, get to your max kind of thing. Is that, okay, look, we can't always do that. We can't always push and stuff like that. But there are times in certain areas and stuff like that we can push. So like, if you take going up the mountain for yourself, is that if you just set out and started running, or you just sat out and was just like, I'm just going to keep pushing until I can't push anymore, you probably would have got a third of the way up and had to stop. But by the right kind of planning and stuff like that, and actually taking into account, what's around you and what you can actually do, is really good. But like you said, if you didn't then push to go, okay, I've just got to do 10 more steps. Okay, now I can wait. I've just got to do 10 more steps. And I think that to me, that whole kind of consistency, I think that is the real secret there with consistency, is that you make it manageable for you.
Yeah. And I think that, and this is the thing, when I was writing this about consistency and the patience thing, I was thinking, I remember I sat on, I started up, and if you like, just talking about a simple strategy, because a lot of people do this. Okay, a simple strategy to get to this goal was 2 steps along straight, 1 step up. Simple strategy. That's all easy. I look up, 2 steps along, 1 up, and that was my strategy. I failed at that, thinking, okay. So the second strategy was, and this is where the patience comes in. The patience is also that kind of introspection of thinking, right, okay, what am I not doing? Right, I'm not resting. Okay, so the next strategy really was that it was going to be 10 steps up, and then I would rest on the third. But I hadn't even really been doing the first ones properly. So I was kind of setting that patience too high. So when I got to the stage where I sat down on the step the second time, sat down on the stone the second time, and I felt even worse than I did before. I thought, right, okay, that's those two strategies didn't work. What can I do differently this time? And it was actually, it was again, it was that bit where I'm thinking, I'm not sure what I can do differently. And it was the guy who came down and said, well, let's just take it instead of going up 10 levels or trying to go up 3 levels, just take 10 steps. Don't worry about going up or down. 10 steps. And then so the strategy wasn't becoming me going up 30 meters, it was just focusing on each step. And it's having the patience to change that sometimes you're going to be finding that whatever goal you have and what you means to getting to it, you're going to be so it's going to feel so slow. There seems to be so many obstacles in front of you. All you've got to do is just next step, next step, because it will become easier, and know that it will. Well, yes, it did. I mean, I got there, so it obviously became a little bit easier, and it will become easier. Things will change. Again, it's the one of the things that I love when Jim Rohn explained about the 4 seasons of business. He says they're just like a business year. It's just like the seasons of the year. You know, you have your spring, your summer, and your autumn, and you have your winter. When all of a sudden things might go complete belly up, or as a period of rest. Now during the winter, you've got to keep moving, but it's going to seem like you're really not getting anywhere. And we've all been through that, and I'm sure we'll all come through those kind of times again. Until you get to the stage where all of a sudden you hit a spring, and you think, things are looking lighter now. I can see the light. I can see things happening, and then it goes on. So, but you're always going to get the winters, but they will always be followed by summer.
Yeah.
So, once it gets bad, don't think that's it. It's always going to. There will be a better end. You just have that patience to know that's going to happen. That it's always going to be that way.
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was Tony Robbins and Ed Milet, and they were talking about that. And they basically said about, you judge people on how they act in the winters, because summers are easy.
Yeah.
It's just summers are easy. Everyone, what make hay whilst the sun shines. When things are going well, it's quite easy to just roll with it. But when things aren't going well, it's how you react to that, how you get through it and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, do you know what? We've all kind of seen that, especially over the past few years, and different changes and all this kind of stuff. Is that the way you adapt, the way you carry on? That's what happens. And like you said, like patience. I mean, I think I'm probably the biggest person, who's guilty of this, is that when it comes to patience, is I want everything now. Of course I do. And it's like, right, okay, how can we shorten the process? And like, you tell me, it's like, it's not always possible to shorten, it's just that you just have to roll with the punches to get to that stage.
Yeah. And I think that is true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with always looking at how you can make it easier, or how you can make it quick, get there more quickly, because that's all part of you. You could be changing your strategy somehow as you're going along to think, right, okay, I could do this, I could make this change, I could do that. But there are times when you have that winter, there's no way. You just have to weather the storm. And there's the whole thing about the winters, obviously, is if you're carrying on going, internally your environment is okay, but it's the external environment that is not helping you along. Like with the pandemic, was the classic one, all the lockdowns and things. And Tony Robbins said, what he's saying is that you can create your own winters if you're not careful by giving up. But if you can carry on in the winter as things are going and everything's slowed down, you think, but I can just keep going, just keep plodding, then you'll get through the winter, whereas often a lot of people will freeze in the winter and just won't get anywhere. So you'll come out in a better situation than they are.
And that is the thing, isn't it? It's like when things do get tough, you have options there. You have opportunity. It's not just a case of times get tough and that's it. You fold. It's like, and pick your battles, of course, but there's so many opportunities for you there to take advantage. Definitely. It's really interesting, isn't it? I think there just is that consistency, and I think for yourself as well, is that whatever you do, like whatever that kind of goal is, it's like once you even achieve that goal, those kind of skills are still set within you, that you still adapt those to other things. Then that is so good. That is so right as well. So what happens is that when you're consistent and you achieve a goal, your confidence goes up, and
also, while you're doing it, you've expanded yourself. You've done things that you wouldn't have done before. It's like, I always, people who go out, people who, I've never run a marathon. I probably never will do it either. But when people say, I'm going to run a marathon, I remember I used to think, well, why? What's the point? But the point was, when you spoke to them, is that they wanted to achieve a goal they'd never tried before, and they were going to build themselves up in such a way that they'd never done before, so physically as well as mentally. And there were so many benefits that came from them training to run a marathon and getting there and finally achieving that goal. Um, just beyond just the marathon itself, you know. And I think that's what happened with me on this afternoon. But it happens anywhere. If you set yourself a goal and you go through it and you achieve it, you on that journey, if you like, on that journey, you've become a different person. You've expanded your comfort zones. You've pushed out you pushed out that comfort zone as well. That's why it's expanded. But you've drawn on strengths maybe you didn't know you had. You've thought and changed and become more flexible when you thought you couldn't be. You've changed plans and you thought of new ideas, and you come up with new strategies and different ways of thinking that probably you never would have done if you hadn't have done it. So so when you've achieved that goal, you are a totally different person. Even if it's a small goal, you're still a totally different person than before you did it. And so when you go on to your next goal, you have all those new tools that you can use. And again, next goal is, and this is why people talk about setting stretch goals. I don't know, the big thing in the 90s and the 2000s about always stretching your goals. And they call them stretch goals, but all goals should really stretch you. The whole idea is that you set a goal that you don't know when you set it what it's going to take to get there, but you know you can get there. And the point is, it's the journey, it's the self-development thing. And the more goals you set, the more you achieve, and you carry on. You never stop setting goals. Just carry on, and you just develop that. You develop yourself in all sorts of different ways.
I think the whole kind of marathon thing is a great example, isn't it? Because the amount of kind of, I guess those steps that you go through, just training for the marathon. Like a lot of people give up and stuff like that. But like you said, someone who's fixed on that goal, they are fixed to it. So it's not just like a goal isn't just to go out for a run, because anyone could as long as you're capable and stuff like that, like anyone could go for a run, but consistently going for a run is where that really changes, and it doesn't have to be that you do it every day or something like that, but it could be even that you just, you look to run every week. So that whole kind of goal is, okay, once I get to a quarter or half a year, I want to be able to say that I ran every week and stuff like that. And that whole kind of marathon thing. So, if you are training for the marathon and this is raining outside, you still go out running. It's not just a case of, the conditions aren't great, I'm going to shy away from it. And that to me is the whole kind of consistency in the goal. And I think that there's a part to it as well of what you tell yourself. So like you said, obviously having that goal, and knowing what that kind of reason is and stuff like that, and planning out, obviously, okay, it's going to take time. It's not going to be easy and stuff like that, but I'm prepared to get through it and everything like that. And it's how you talk to yourself then to get yourself through it. I think it's such a massive thing, and I guess that whole thing as well is that you do have that whole kind of environment kind of thing. So if you've got negative people around you all the time, you're going to be quite negative,
Absolutely.
You've got people around you telling you can do it all the time. And that can I know, like you said, having that accountability, you should definitely have that. But even just telling yourself as well, just being able to tell yourself that you can do it and push yourself through and get yourself doing it is important.
And interesting that it comes into that kind of partly in the endurance bit and the patience bit. And the patience piece is just, I can do this. All I have to do is my pace might slow down, but all I have to do is just keep one step in front of the other, 10 steps at a time. And eventually he got to the stage where maybe I can try 12. And I was taking 12 steps, and then maybe 15, because I was just getting more inclined to it. And eventually I think I was getting more. It was getting easier the more I went up, because obviously my body was getting acclimatized to it as well. But it's just the mental thinking was, well, let's just add one more. I remember writing a post a long time ago called "One More Lamppost," and the same thing. So I was I used to back in my hockey days, um, and I used to play on the wing, and I had to just become faster, and I hated running, but I knew that the way I'd become faster is by going out running, sprinting, slowing, running, all that kind of stuff. And I used to go out, and there's the particular path that I used to run along, which had I had a lamppost, and it would just be I'd jog, I'd slow, I'd walk, jog, semi-jog, semi-sprint, and then it was sprinting, and it was always one more lamppost. So I could sprint to one lamppost. Can I keep it to the next? And that's how I built up speeds, purely so that it would help me going. And that was a similar thing, is can I just do one more? Can I do one more of this or one more of that? Yeah, one more rep or one more step or whatever, one more of whatever it is. That one more really makes a difference.
I love that bit. I just thinking then as well, I can remember doing the whole kind of lamppost training in my teens. That was horrible. That whole kind of running, sprinting sort of stuff. It was horrible. But I love that, man. And I'm definitely an advocate of the one more. I love that. And like, as you were talking then as well, like for me, I think that there's like kind of like a flip side to that as well, of kind of saying, like, just do one. Like, so I think some people, like they get hung up on something. So like you said, like just say press ups kind of thing, right? And someone comes out with a goal and they're like, okay, I'm going to do 50 press ups a day, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe they do that day one, maybe day two, day three, they forgot because something come up or they're sore, and then before you know it, they're not doing it anymore. Whereas if you just kind of say, look, every kind of few hours, I'm going to do one press up, you're probably going to do more. But you're actually just going to get to actually doing it, so something that you necessarily don't like, you just kind of do one of it, so instead of it being a case of like you said, a goal, a goal could be, okay, I'm going to have a cup of tea, right? It's not a goal. It's not, it doesn't push you, there's no effort going in, to have a cup of tea, but it's like doing one push-up when you don't want to, just doing one, even if you just did that one, you've still pushed yourself through that stage where you've gone, okay, I've done one.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. No, that's a great example. Is just do one. Yes. Take the first step. What was it? Yes. Take the first step. If you don't see the whole staircase, you don't know where you're going. Just take the first step.
Definitely. Do you know what as well, Mark? I think we look to wrap this episode up, relatively soon. I'm just thinking with consistency, I think that there's a great part of consistency within marketing, right? And within business, kind of lead generation, acquisition, all this kind of stuff. And as you were talking and you're going on about consistency and stuff like that, I was earlier this month, I spent quite a bit of time in London, right? So I spent a lot of time on trains and on tubes, which is like the subway, here in the UK. And they have this message that plays all the time, right? So every kind of, I reckon it's like every 10 minutes or something like that, wherever you are, train stations, all this kind of stuff, there's this kind of like this like safety message, it's like terrorism kind of message.
Oh, yeah.
It says, see it, say it, sort it, right? And it tells you, like, if you see something that looks a bit dodgy, report it to the police, or the kind of, rail authority or whatever it is, right? But it just happens all the time. And I can remember being on this train and it came on and there was this like mother and child, this like little girl, she could have only been about 3. And as they said that bit, say it, see it, sort it, like she repeated it at the same time. And like part of me, first off, I just kind of had a little chuckle to myself, right? But after I was just like, so yeah, they've done well on the marketing there because it's got into people's heads, it's like even that little girl, if she sees something that isn't quite right, she's going to say, we need to report that, It's like, it is that way where like everyone, and there is that thing of just that repetitiveness, if you just keep going, that it's going to get in people's heads. But it's a smart play of in your marketing. I think a lot of people jump on the whole kind of shiny object kind of thing and they're jumping around from this to that. That didn't work, so we'll do this, we'll do that. Whereas if that message just played for a week, I probably wouldn't have heard it because, I wouldn't have been exactly. At the time. But because it's been going on for like the past like 5 years or something like that. It obviously, it fills that gap that is needed for it. And I think what we can do like that is obviously the next episode, get a bit around kind of marketing messages and look at that consistency within marketing.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. That sounds good.
So let's do that. I think, Mark, if we wrap things up then, with just steps, what would you summarize it as with the steps?
Yeah, just take take steps to get to your goal. Really, that's what it came down with me. It's to use these steps for a mnemonic to remember it. But yeah, the only way you're going to achieve a goal is to take the steps to move forward. Simple as that.
I love that. That is basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just take the steps. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Mark, we'll wrap things up there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's always been a pleasure.
It has indeed. Thanks everyone for listening.